Welcome to our fourth lecture in the lecture series within this course. Previously, we've looked at algae and we also looked at fungi. Now today, we are going to study the lichens. Now, when we have an association of fungi together with the algae, what results is a group of plants we refer to as lichens. Now the photo that is presented before us, whatever you are seeing here, these are lichens. These are lichens, and specifically these are hanging and they are referred to as the fructicose lichens, these ones here. Then this is the crustose. Now we have said that lichens are an association between algae and fungi. Now different fungi and different algae combining will always give rise to different distinct species of lichens. Now in lichens, the fungi and algae live together in an intimate relationship, leading to a symbiotic life. Now the fungal partner or the fungi absorbs water and mineral matter from the substratum and in turn supply to the algae. The algae on its part prepares food and supplies this food to the fungi. Now, lichens normally occur as either grayish-green, green-white, or brightly colored incrustations, which are normally 1 to several centimeters in diameter, and they will occur on the stems and branches of shrubs and trees, wooden posts, logs, on rocks, on old walls, and even the ground, and some may hang as tufts. Now, many lichens grow under extreme conditions of humidity and temperature, and they may survive long periods of desiccation. This means that they can survive in places that have very little moisture, almost dry-like conditions. Now, lichens are extensively distributed in both the cold and hot zones, especially in the tropical rainforests. Classification of lichens. Now, lichens are normally classified depending on the nature of the fungi that is in association with the algae. In the event that the fungi that are in association with algae are the ascomycetes, then what results are the ascolichens. So the first group are the ascolichens. So the fungi members are ascomycetes, which reproduce by means of ascospores. When the fungi members are basidiomycetes, the category of lichens that results are the basidiolichens. Now, the body of the lichens are referred to as a thallus, and the thallus of lichens have 3 growth patterns or formed, which can either be crustose lichens, they can also be Folios lichens, and they can also be fructicose lichens. Now, the crustose types normally form a hard granular crust, and they adhere very tenaciously to rocks, to barks of shrubs, to the barks of trees, and even on certain soils. A good example here are the grapples species and the Lichens species. The second category of thallus within the lichens are the Folios types. These ones normally form definite, flattened leaf-like thalli with lobed margins, and they adhere to walls, tree trunks, rocks, and ground by means of delicate rhizoids. A good example here are the Palmalia species. Now, unlike the crustose forms, the Folios lichen show differentiation into an upper and lower surface. The third category are the fructicose types. These ones normally form much branched shrub-like bodies which remain attached by their narrow basal portion only. They may stand erect, like in the case of Cladonia species, or they may hang on the branches of shrubs and trees, like in the case of the Usnea species. I want us to look at some photos that will help us distinguish between the crustose, the Folios, and the fructicose thallus type of lichens. Now, to the extreme left here, what you are seeing here, these are the fructicose type. You see they appear like shrub-like, and these ones are actually hanging. This is an example of the Usnea species. Now, in the middle here, these are Folios. They have a leaf-like body with lobed margins, and when you look at them, you are able to distinguish between the upper and the lower surfaces. To our extreme right here, this is the crustose type. These ones adhere tenaciously on the surfaces. They appear like crusts. So these are the three forms of thallus that can be found within the lichens. Let us look at the general structure. Now, the main framework of the lichen thallus is made of an interwoven mass of hyphae of a fungus, like usually in the ascomycetes, we'll have an ascolichen, or in some cases a basidiomycete that will result in a basidiolichens. Now, the ascolichens enclose mostly unicellular blue-green algae like the Chlorococcus, the Gleocapsa species, which are unicellular, or the nostoc and Rivillaria, which are normally filamentous, or certain green algae of Chlorella and Pleurococcus. Now, the basidiolichens enclose similar blue-green algae. The fungus and algae types in association are always constant. So you not find a different species uniting with another different species. They are always constant species that are in association. Now, in some lichens, the algae are scattered in the thallus, while in others, they occur in either one or two layers. This is a good example of the lichen morphology. If you look at it, you realize that there is the fungal hyphae. These ones you are seeing here are the fungal hyphae, which are enclosing an algal layer. These green portions, these are algae. So if this fungal hyphae was from an ascomycete, then the lichen that we'll be having here will be an ascolichen. If the fungal hyphae was from a basidiomycete, then the lichen we'll be having here will be a basidiolichen. And usually the fungal hyphae combining with the algal cell, when they break off, they'll form the reproductive unit. And this is of course a vegetative type of reproduction. Now, reproduction in lichens, just like in the previous plant groups, can either be vegetative, where a portion of the body of the plant is used to generate a new plant. It can be asexual, where there is the involvement of spores, or it can be sexual, where we have the union of gametes. Now, these varieties of reproduction within the lichens are mostly fungal in nature. In other words, it's the fungal partner that determines the type of reproduction that will occur in the lichens. The first category is the vegetative reproduction. Now, vegetative reproduction can be via soredia. Soredia are tiny granular bodies on the upper surface of the thallus, and they appear as grayish powdery coating. Now, each soredium is made up of either one to many algal cells, which are wrapped in a network of hyphae. The soredia are dispersed by wind, and they germinate into the lichen thallus when the conditions are favorable. This is the most common form of reproduction among the lichens. So this is what we are calling soredia. If you look at it carefully, you realize that these upper portions, there are some portions that are detaching. This is what we are calling soredia. They detach from the lichen, and when they land on a suitable substrate, they'll germinate and give rise to a new lichen. The second category are what we refer to as Icidium. Now, Icidium are minute outgrowths in some lichens, and they consist of both the algal cell and the fungal hyphae surrounded by a layer of cortex. They are photosynthetic in function, and once they detach, they can grow and develop into a new thalli. So this is what you are referring to. This is the lichen body. Now, this minute outgrowth here, up here, is what we are referring to as an Icidium. When it detaches, like in this case here, and gets onto a suitable substrate, it will germinate and give rise to a new lichen. The third form of vegetative reproduction is oidia. Now, oidia are short fungal segments from hyphae that have broken up, and these segments are on the lichen thallus. Now, each oidium germinates just like a spore to produce a normal hyphae. So this is your hyphae, this is your lichen thallus. So a portion of it detaching and breaking off forms an oidium. One is oidium, several are oidia. So these segments are actually from the fungal partner. So when they detach off and get onto a suitable substrate, they will also germinate and give rise to a new lichen thallus. Now, the fourth form of vegetative reproduction is just fragmentation of the thallus of the lichen. Now, the thallus of the lichen can fragment or can break off into long and short fragments, or fragments are just portions. Now, each fragment may grow to the size of the parent thallus. The second form of reproduction in lichens is asexual reproduction, and you are going to look at each of the forms of lichen and how this asexual reproduction occurs. The first category, we shall look at the lichens. Now in ascolichens, asexual reproduction is effected by means of spores which are formed by the fungal partner. Now the spores germinate and they send out hyphae in different directions. Now this hyphae that has been sent, upon coming in contact with the requisite alga, the hyphae will branch freely and cover the algal cell. The combined body now grows into the lichen thallus. In some cases, some ascolichens produce pycnidiospores in flask-shaped cavities called pycnidia. Now each pycnidium appears as a black spot or dots on the surface of the lichen thallus. The pycnidiospore germinates to produce the hypha, which when in contact with the combined body can grow to form a lichen thallus. So what you are saying here is that when you look at the lichen thallus, sometimes you will find that it has a portion referred to as the pycnidium, and this normally appears like just black spots. Now within this pycnidium we have spores known as pycnidiospores. These pycnidiospores are the ones that will germinate to produce a hyphae, and we can look at it diagrammatically to understand. Yeah, this is the thallus. So this flask-shaped cavity is what we are referring to as a pycnidium, and it appears just like a black spot on the thallus of the lichen. Now within this pycnidium we have spores. These spores are the ones we are referring to as pycnidiospores. Now you should note that the pycnidiospores may behave just like male gametes that are known as the spermatids. In basidiolichens, the type of lichens called basidiolichens reproduce asexually by means of basidiospores, like in the case of the agaricus species. Sexual reproduction, and you are going to look specifically at sexual reproduction in the ascolichens. Now sexual reproduction results in the formation of an ascocarp, which may be an apothecium or sometimes a perithecium. I know these are terminologies that we have interacted with when we were looking at the fungi. We looked at what an apothecium and what a perithecium is. Now the female sex organ is the carpogonium, and it is composed of an ascogonium and a tube-like trichogina. The male sex organ is called the spermagonium. It is normally flask-shaped. It produces non-motile male gametes called the spermatia. Now, when the spermatium comes into contact with the trichogyne, which normally serves as a route for it to enter into the nucleus of the ascogonium, we say fertilization has occurred. So fertilization occurs when the spermatium gets into the nucleus of the ascogonium. Now the spermatium fuses with the nucleus of the ascogonium, and several ascogenous hyphae are given off, from where many asci which are ascosporic are followed. Now finally, let us look at the economic use of lichens. Now lichens are normally involved in the disintegration of soil. The lichens are also used as food for animals. They are also used in medicine, and they can give rise to dyes which are used by humans. Lichens are also used in the production of cosmetics, they are also involved in the brewing industries, and they are a source of tannins which are used in the conversion of hide into leather. The points I've given on the use of lichens, I would like you to go and look into them further and be able to develop an essay of how lichens are useful to humans. If you read carefully, you realize that some of the lichens are actually what is referred to in the Bible as manna, and this is what was fed to the children of Israel while they were in the wilderness. This marks the end of lichens. Thank you.